Hello, high impact attendees.
Welcome. Week 3. Here we are.
Good morning, good afternoon. Hopefully you guys are having a great week. We're excited that we're able to be here with you for week 3, module 3.
Thanks for joining us. As you all know, I'm Jen Moncluse.
And I'm Doris Barnes.
And we're excited to get through some more helpful content today. So thank you to our dear friends at Jasper as well. As you know, we adore you guys.
We sure do. You do so much for the industry. All right, so let's first talk about, as a good reminder, how we can all best benefit while we're here together today. Please ensure anything you can do, make sure you're uninterrupted so that you can focus and gain what you need to gain from this content today.
Take good notes. You guys should be taking notes in the workbook that was provided to you before the class even started. If you're still wondering what we're talking about, you can open your control panel, and I've attached the workbook as a handout. So that should be printed, and you guys are vivaciously taking notes as we continue to work with you for this week and next week.
Yes, absolutely. Keep an open mind. We know you're hearing things that are different, they're new. Of course, that's the point. But if you're used to doing things a certain way, we can get stuck in mindsets and we can think, gosh, you know, that's not going to work for my customers. It might work out there in California, but maybe you're somewhere else where you potentially got a different type of customer. The neat thing is this is all psychologically based. It's all based in principles. So this is just really good principally centered people stuff that's been proven and proven over the years many, many times over. So do keep an open mind. We're here to help you. Keep those questions off to the side if we can't get to yours today, and feel free to reach out to us because we really want to help you get to where you need to be with the content.
Yes, so there will be a Q&A if you've now noticed a pattern at the end of this module. So we'll allow for 5 to 8 minutes to answer those live. We won't be seeing the questions live right now. We're gonna wait till the end. I already see a question popped up, but we can't see that yet until the end, so just bear with us. We appreciate your patience.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So let's talk about our sales cycle again. We spent a little bit of time on this at the beginning of each session. And just as a reminder, this is the process we follow to make sure we have clear, effective communication and that we actually get the sales that we work so hard for. We've talked about these 3 steps where advisors really need to spend the most time. And up until today, we focused on steps 1 through 5. So today, while we're together, we're going to get into step 6 and 7, asking for the sale and closing the sale, and really diving into those and helping you the best we can with the time we've got together today.
We'll scratch the surface on the resale because there are 2 versions we like to kind of consider the resale for. But just remember that this cycle, this procedure, I guess you would call it, this is going to be followed with an inbound caller who's trying to set an appointment, or you're trying to set the appointment with them, or at the point of sale. So when you're literally delivering your presentation, whether it's face-to-face or over the phone with a customer, we want to follow this to a T. If you hate receiving sales objections and getting, excuses or concerns from the customer, then you need to follow this, because what this will basically do for you is the effective, clear communication. We talked about it before. Confused people don't buy.
Right.
Happy people buy. So we were going to mention analogies last week. When you really think about this, when you really think about this, we all follow this cycle subconsciously. Unless you've come to a class like this, now you can really pinpoint how people communicate to one another. But subconsciously, for the most part, generally speaking, we would follow this in our day-to-day communication.
Yeah. So think about a guy meeting a girl. Let's say he's at a restaurant, she's sitting up at the bar, and he thinks she's beautiful. He wants to go up and strike up a conversation and hopefully get her to go out with him.
Yeah.
He's gonna first start by building rapport with her. He's gonna figure out a way to break the ice. Hopefully there won't be a cheesy pickup line involved, right, guys? But he's gonna do something. How is he gonna approach her? He's gotta build rapport first. He wants to try to find some sort of a connection, maybe get her to laugh, get her to smile. This is how we're going to build rapport. Then he's gonna start asking questions. Is she new? Is she from the area? Does she come here often? This place is great. Do you love the food? Well, he's gonna start trying to ask questions to figure out, is she single, right? All these things. He's gotta then go to step 3 and say, okay, I need to find out what the needs are. First of all, is there a need for me in her life? Maybe is she single? Is she attached? Maybe what she likes to do, a little bit more about her with this rapport building and fact finding, asking lots of good questions about her interests. Then from there, he can then go, okay, what would the solutions be? If I'm gonna get her to go out with me, what might I suggest? Well, maybe he just learned that she is in that area and she like frequents this area where all the cool restaurants and hotspots are, and they talk about a place that she really likes. He'll figure out, okay, solutions, she's single, maybe there is a reason for me in her life, and she loves Italian food.
Yeah.
So then he's gonna build interest and value in this Italian restaurant. He'll probably build interest and value in himself.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about some things that he thinks might pique her interest. And then he's gonna ask for the sale. He's gonna ask her on a date, maybe ask her to meet him for dinner. And then, you know, he's gonna try to close the sale. But what if there's a sales objection? Here's where your sales objection happens, which is what we're gonna talk about today.
Yeah.
Now she might say, well, I'm busy Friday night. And he might say, well, what about Sunday morning for breakfast? I hear they actually do a great brunch, right? He's gonna really try to work for that. He's gonna hopefully close the sale and get the date. And then he's gonna resell the service and he's gonna say, I'm super excited. We're gonna have a blast. This is gonna be a really great time. So that's reselling, right? So this is normal. It's natural communication. We just wanted to demonstrate that sales are lost because of lack of communication or a failure in communication. And the better we get at following this, the more sales we're gonna get. So bottom line.
So go back in time. We're covering each step in very great detail every webinar. Go back in time because you guys are getting the recorded links sent. You'll get them again today. And I would rewatch these videos a few times.
Yeah.
You have access to them for months. So make sure you really fine tune what each step is all about. So why don't we get into step number 6?
Yes, just ask. You gotta ask. We need to make sure that we're asking and not just putting a price out there and then pausing and waiting for the customer to say something. It's professional and it's the right thing to do. So it says whenever possible, prices should be all inclusive and presented last. So one of the things that Jen and I hear a lot is we hear advisors say it'll be about $850 or around $850. What do you think that does to the customer's anxiety if you say about or around? Does the anxiety come up or down? Goes up, right?
Up.
Yeah,
that's odd to me. That's unsure.
Right.
It's a gray zone, right? It's not definitive.
What do you mean about? I mean, we're talking about my money here, right? I need to be able to know. So always have it be all inclusive, factor in the tax, factor in all the shop supply fees, anything that you have, hazardous waste disposal fees, all of it, one number out the door.
And then ask them for the sale. Ask them, you know, with your heads up or with your thumbs up, you know, I can get this started, get you back on the road by 5, Doris. I just need your approval. You're going to ask them for the sale. We got to do that audibly and not just assume the customer knows it's their turn to chime in and they know to give you a response.
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about this, the other module, but if you are asking for the sale and you actually have options in this particular scenario, you know, it's applicable to give the customer choice. We always recommend 2 options, not 3. We talked about we want you to steer away from the good, better, best scenario. Statistically, the customer usually goes with the middle option, and it takes away your ability to really sell, you know, 2 options. One might be the premium way, if you want to coin it that term, versus just the basic way. Premium might be a better benefit and overall value for them.
Right. So you want to make that recommendation. You want to sell one of the 2 to them and really get behind it like we did last week, if you guys remember that. If not, go back and watch that. Tell the customer the price differences between the 2 services. You always want them making a decision on that price difference, on that smaller number. And you don't want any ambiguity there. You really want to make sure it's all clear, concise. You don't want them having to try to do math in their head.
Yeah.
And we'll role play this for you in just a second, right?
Yeah, and when you have those options, ideally the last option you're truly hoping they go with is the last one they hear. So you're going to offer that second option so it's fresh on the top of their mind, the last thing out of your mouth. And you would tell the customer the price differences. So if it's only a $300 price difference, now I'm essentially making the decision on, do I want to spend the extra $300 or not? Does the benefits and the value outweigh the difference in the dollar amount? So like she said, we'll role play this for you really quickly.
Yeah, good for you to hear how this sounds.
Make a personal recommendation. Did we skip that?
No, I mentioned it.
Oh,
okay. But we role played this last week. Remember we said, and we're going to do it again. Just listen how there's a lot of influence. I'm going to tell her which one I think she needs to go with and why.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. We like this approach of 2 options versus 3 because you still get to be the expert and sell one over the other. So, and it makes it easier for the customer to make a decision with 2 versus 3 choices.
So all important things to consider in asking for the sale. Now, You ask for the appropriate question when it comes to asking for the sale, rather than making a statement. So here's the example here. So let me ask you, Mike, which of these two services would give you the greater peace of mind? That is very different than asking Mike the question like this. If you would like, Mike, I could have it all done today. So the first way is more assumptive, is that it's as if we're going to move forward with one of them, but we're just asking the customer which one of those would give them the greater peace of mind. There's a shift to that psychologically.
Yeah. So instead on number 2, I could say, well, you know, actually, I really rather not have it all done today. Why don't we talk about that a little bit more? I think I'm going to wait on a lot of that stuff. Versus the first way, you're reminding them that what they're buying is peace of mind. Which one of these gives you the greater peace of mind? Well, it's just a slight shift in psychology. So should we role play this for them now?
Yeah, why don't we do it?
Let's role play it.
Let's just pretend we're at the point of sale.
Yeah.
And
let me grab a repair order here.
Okay, Doris has a repair order. I'm in her shop.
Okay.
I needed a brake job. I needed brakes. I had this wicked noise. It was awful and annoying and irritating. Dropped the car off. It's been inspected. Doris has already basically done everything to the point of she's at asking for the sale, and she's actually got a couple options. So we're going to tie this slide and the previous slide together so you could just listen to that tiny point of the conversation.
Okay. So Jen, yeah, this is everything that we need today with the brakes. Do you have any questions that I can answer?
No, I mean, all that made sense, and I see what you mean about the rotors. So I guess my only question is how much?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have really great news because I have a couple different ways that you can go to solve this today.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first way we could go, Jen, would be to go ahead and do the front brake services outline. Now that's going to be with the brand new Toyota pads for your Toyota. We can resurface the rotors like we talked about, saving you money by not having to replace those.
Right.
Clean and lubricate the caliper sides, which is just a great part of that service. And that comes with a full 2-year, 24,000-mile written warranty as a reminder.
Okay.
And out the door, the total for that is only $320.50.
Okay.
Now, the second way you can go, which is the way that I really recommend, and Larry, your tech recommends, just based off of what we know about the vehicle, your driving habits, how you use it, the history, is that we go ahead and have everything done that I just explained, but that in addition, we go ahead and have Larry adjust the parking brake.
Right.
That's going to squeeze more life out of the pads you're replacing. And that he also changes the brake fluid. And we talked about that, right? And how that's going to preserve the life of the braking system and all of those things. So now the total for everything all together comes to only $457.60. So as a matter of fact, let's see what that makes your price difference. Now the price difference is only $137.10 between those two. So let me ask you, Jen, which of these two options gives you the greater peace of mind?
And then we'll just stop right there. So we basically just summarized this slide and the previous one. Do you see how that flows really nicely? By design, this works. So I heard the final option being the one that she and the tech personally recommend. She sprinkled in the benefits. She asked me which of these two services would give you the greater peace of mind. So now we're going to talk about what's going to happen at this point, right?
Yes.
I didn't answer her because I wanted to mention this. She's now asked me the appropriate question. She didn't make the statement. And now the ball's in my court, right? I'm the customer. I know it's my turn to chime in, and we want to be very clear with you. There's a point of time when there's silence and it's awkward. It's awkward for the customer. It's awkward for the advisor, but no matter what, we need you as the advisor to remain quiet.
Now, for those of you that have done other sales training in the past, you've probably heard something like this in the past. So you may have heard the first person that speaks between you and the customer loses. The first person, we have a different approach. We say the first person that speaks is going to buy, meaning if you speak first, you're going to buy. They're selling you.
Yes.
You're not selling them. Now, if you keep your mouth closed for long enough and let them come to a decision, they're going to buy from you. Let them speak first. Now, you're probably wondering, what's going on here? If this is new to you, it's new, and there's psychology that is behind this And in our master's program, we go really deep into everything that's happening physiologically during that time of silence and why it is such an influencer to keep your mouth shut. But right now, you just need to take our word on this, okay? But we're gonna help you a little bit further with this with the next couple bullet points.
Yeah, so you really need to let the customer make their decision on their own. So many times I have seen service advisors at this point of silence get really squirmy and you just wanna speak and that could really harm you. You know, a lot of times you might hear the term talk yourself out of the sale. That happens. I've seen it a lot. So we've got some suggestions for you, and this does roll into step number 7, which is closing the sale, but here's some really cool tips.
Okay, so it says after you've asked for the sale, the customer may start thinking out loud during this supposed time of silence. Unless they ask you a question specifically that you have to answer, you need to remain silent. So what might this sound like?
Okay, so a customer could be doing some self-talk in their head and they're completely quiet. So Doris, the advisor, is just standing here wondering what the heck's going on. So for the example of us being in front of you, I'm just gonna do it out loud. Let's pretend she just asked me, which of these 2 services give you the greater peace of mind? So out loud, which would be probably more helpful than in my head, I'm gonna think, okay, so the price difference was really only $138. And I see what she means about, doing that brake fluid flush. I mean, that did sound smart, especially if we're putting this kind of money back into the car. Oh man, do I want to spend that? How am I going to pay for that? I guess I could use, do I want to use the Amex? No, I mean, I like the travel points we get on the Discover card. Yeah, I think I'm going to do the Discover card. Okay, I think I'm going to go the way that she wants me to go. I could be doing this out loud. This is helpful for you when the customer's talking themselves into the sale. But you guys, I could be doing this in my head.
Right. And you don't, it's just quiet. They're processing. So it says, if I open my mouth because I start to get a little anxious or my anxiety raises. That's what we don't have time to get into why, but it's raising. And that's why you feel very uncomfortable when it's silent. So if she's doing that in her head, I have no idea what she's thinking. And because it's uncomfortable for me, I want to open my mouth. And I might say something silly like, well, Jen, you know, just as a reminder, it's really a great way to go. And, you know, we have that great warranty on the parts and everything. And, you know, I mean, you know, that's the right time for you to do those brakes and all that. So, and Larry really believes in it.
Right.
You know, I know you didn't get a chance to meet him, but he's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm back in her world.
Yeah.
I could have been formulating, how am I going to pay for this? Or which option do I want to go with? I could have been right there. And then she brings me back to reality. And now she's derailed my train of thinking. We got to get me back on track. It could just be a waste of time. It's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
So we just want you to avoid that at all costs. Now, if the customer does ask you a question and they still haven't formulated their decision, they still haven't told you which way they want to go, if they even want to go one way or the other at all, they ask you a question, then you need to answer it quick, abbreviated, and professional, just like this little example gives at the bottom.
Yeah, so it says, let's say Jen says, well, Doris, can you have everything finished by 3 p.m.? She just asked me a question, I have to answer it. I'm just gonna go, yep, we absolutely can.
Okay, well, that's great.
Don't drone on.
Yeah.
You will talk yourself out of a sale. So that's what that means, guys. I mean, you can talk yourself out of a sale at other times through the process, but this is the most common place to talk yourself out of a sale. So just, you know, there's a lot of psychology here. These are the rules you need to follow.
So remember, the first person who speaks buys. We don't consider you or your customers losers. So just kind of remember that as like a mental state for you. Just kind of zip your lips because the next person who speaks is selling the other person, right?
Yeah.
So just be patient.
Yep. So hopefully this makes sense, guys. Good tip for closing the sale. All right, let's see what else we've got for you guys today.
Now, closing the sale could also mean sales objections arise.
Yep.
We'll get to that next week. Okay, so don't worry, sales objections we're going to tackle next week. But while we're on closing the sale, we just want to give you some tips once the customer actually has made their decision. So we've got some tips here for you. Oops, I went too far.
Okay. So once the customer has come to the decision, you've sort of helped them through this. Here, you might have had to help them through a sales objection. And now we're at that point of making the decision. They're going to decide, okay, I'm going to do this, that, or the other. let them savor it to help prevent buyer's remorse. What this means, guys, you want to make sure to have them really process. A lot of times sales trainers will teach you to just quickly get the answer, put a pen in their hand, so to speak, and get them to sign on the dotted line. And if you've ever been in this situation before, you can feel very pressured into a sale. It can feel very cheesy. And what happens if we haven't had time to really process and savor the decision is that you leave and you go, oh man, I shouldn't have, they're not sold yet, is the bottom line.
Yeah.
That was money I was saving for the kids for the vacation this summer. Was that really the right decision? Maybe I should have gotten a second opinion. You really want to help them make sure that they feel good about this.
Yes. So the next step means resell them on their decision. I know that's technically step 8, but this leads into step 8. We have another way to spin step 8, but what we mean by this is just give them like a verbal almost hug that they're doing the right thing. So if I was the advisor and I did what I did well enough and the customer saw the value in doing the premium brake service, and the customer told me, yeah, you know what, I think I'm going to go with what you and Larry recommend, I would say something short and sweet like, great, you're going to be really pleased with that, Doris. I would have done the exact same thing if I were in your shoes. I know you're going to be happy with that decision. Boom, that's all you need to do. Short and sweet, let them know they're right. And that's going to help the customer's anxiety lower. They're not going to feel like it was a silly waste of money or a wrong turn in life that they took. So just make sure you provide them that little affirmation, I guess.
Yeah, they need that from you. We kind of all need that when we make difficult decisions, right? You get it from your friends, your family, people you trust. When you make a personal decision and they say, you know what? Yeah, I really think you're making a good decision. You know, I'm glad you thought it through, right? So this will help them go, okay, you know what? Jen's the expert. I do really trust her. And she's telling me, you know, it was the right choice.
Yeah.
So,
and then that's what you need to do. Get off of it, change the subject, and let's talk about what's going to happen next. There's no point in here talking yourself out of the sale.
right.
So just let the customer kindly know expectations, what's going to happen next. Paint that picture for them so there's no surprises.
Yep, the tech's going to start. We'll go ahead and get started on it right away. Larry's going to go ahead and pull it to the back as soon as you take off, and we'll get started on those brakes. And I'll call you by no later than 2 o'clock today with an update, right?
Perfect.
All right.
All right, so we thought it would be really helpful before we get into any more steps. Doris and I thought, ooh, let's put together some helpful tips when it comes to selling multiple repairs. AKA, our industry likes to refer this as the laundry list or the grocery list, I always hear.
Yes.
The long ticket of everything the car needs, right?
You guys don't get any of those, right? No.
We know you live here. So
Yeah.
we wanted to give you some helpful tips, and we've got 3 of them here. So I want to talk to you guys about the term full disclosure, okay? When you've got a very big ticket, the car needs multiple things, multiple services or repairs. That can be very daunting for not only you, but the customer. I mean, think about it. They might just have come in to think they only need an oil change. And after your thorough whatever point inspection happens, they might need a couple $1,000s worth of work. You've been there, right?
Yeah.
So the primary objective we want you guys to realize ethically is to make the customer aware of all of your discoveries. We don't want this to be a liability for you, the technicians, the customer. We want you to keep and uphold an upstanding brand. So full disclosure is key. The customer doesn't have to do all of it. We ultimately know it's their decision, but it's your professional duty and ethical duty to fully disclose the reality of the situation.
Yeah, guys, and we get why service advisors will hold back, especially sometimes with a new customer that they haven't had a chance to really earn the trust with. They don't want to scare them away, and so they hold back on sharing anything other than safety items and what they came in for. We just can't take that chance in today's day and age. Number 1, for legal reasons, like Jen said, but number 2, really at the end of the day, is it the right thing to do?
Right.
It's not, right? The customer really has a right to know everything that was found, and it just has to be presented the right way, which we can help you with.
Yeah.
The customer has to feel comfortable with you. They have to feel like you're not pushing them and that it's not a sale, that it's really just about what's in the customer's best interest.
And what's going to help you get through all of that data, we'll call it, is when you originally, when they dropped off the car and you did the write-up and you set expectations for the inspection, if they understand why you do a vehicle inspection, they understand the ethics, they understand how they win by getting that full overview or that physical, right, done on their patient, then they're going to know that you might have some information later down the road to share. Odds are they're going to be more inclined to at least listen, so you can kind of do this data dumpage of discoveries, we'll call it.
Right.
So
let them know ahead of time. Let them know, say something like, you know, we can always just scoot out of here. This way you'll have all the information you need about the car, Jen, and you can scoot out of here with that full report in your hands to make really good decisions down the road with the car.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
So we'll make sure you have that. Put them at ease, guys. When you do that, they're going to be open to you. They're not going to feel pressured or sold. And then they're at least going to listen to you, like Jen said.
Yeah.
So that's where you need to have them.
Now really listen for this one. This is a huge tip that we teach in great detail in our advanced service advisor course. We get advisors to articulate this almost word for word, and it becomes a habit, because I know a lot of advisors get a little wiggly when the customer comes in, they only think they need an oil change, and boom, you've got a list of discoveries. So to ease the customer's anxiety, what we want you to do is ask permission to review your discoveries and then discuss pricing at the end. What this is going to do is give you a little bit more wiggle room to kind of do the dumpage of all the data,
I love it.
right? Share all the discoveries without any interruptions, without that customer stressing out, needing a price on everything. So here's a little verbiage I want you to take note of. This really works for you to get all the cards out on the table.
Okay. So Jen, in addition to what you brought the vehicle in for, your tech Larry also found just a few other things. And with your permission, I'd love to just go over those with you.
Okay.
And if that sounds good, what we'll do is, I mean, the good news is, if you want to have any of that done, we can take care of it for you here.
Okay.
And get it out of your hair.
Cool.
All right. And with anything else, we'll discuss prices, we'll discuss options, and we'll do that at the end. Does that sound good to you?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so let's chat.
So she's now planted the seed that I'm basically going to speak up at the end, because I'm probably, a lot of people are price conscious. We get that. And if there are any options, like maybe we have to look into financing, let's just say if I can't afford it, or maybe we have to prioritize something. Those kind of options we can discuss at the end, right? She's now gotten my thumbs up. I've just given her the okay to go through this. So this should work, 95, 97% of the time on all your customers. Obviously, those really aggressive, dominant people might have high anxiety and take you for a whirlwind, but try this out, because for most customers, this works really, really well.
Yeah, I said, we'll discuss options and prices at the end, and I got her to say, and I said, is that okay? She said, yeah. So then hopefully you won't have people going, well, what's that gonna cost? What's that gonna cost? What's that gonna cost? Because ultimately we want you to get through all of it with one price and then go into prioritization and options for them then.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that on the next slide.
Yeah.
But another tip when you're selling the big laundry list is it's more sensical if you guys can prepare for this call or this conversation and know that you should be discussing each system in its entirety and then move to the next system in its entirety. So when you're doing this dumpage, we'll call it, you can tackle the brakes in its system. Then you can get to the suspension. Then you can get to the cooling. This helps you actually sell more, because we're tackling these repairs or services in each system.
Yeah.
It's the proper way to kind of take care of the car. I mean, ultimately, we want the entire brake system to be functioning in itself altogether, right? And it is a little bit more sensical to the customer to understand we're tackling it in systems. So this will require you to prepare, take some time before picking up the phone. And you should know before the customer even objects or shares any concerns, what each system should cost in its entirety, including tax, everything out the door. Because let's just say this oil change customer certainly doesn't want to do everything or can't afford everything, then you're prepared to prioritize and you've got the pricing ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, so let's say you have a safety item in the cooling system. There's a busted line or something, or cracked line. Well, now this cooling systems, we're going to talk about priority order on this next slide in a minute here. but now that can come to the top of your priority order. So that's why systems are really powerful as well.
Especially when you've got so much information to share with a customer, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, it really
a long conversation.
Definitely.
So when you've got a multiple repair formatted sale, we are not going to encourage you to go through each system and share its price and basically share 10 prices with the customer in one call.
That is so frustrating for people, guys. So if that's kind of the way you've been doing it, where you're just doing, this is what it needs, here's the price, this is what it needs, here's the price. I feel like my head wants to explode with that many numbers, and I'm trying to do the math. And the bottom line is, as soon as somebody hears a number, they start trying to make a decision. So we want one total price at the end for everything. Ask for the sale, right, Jen?
Yeah. So since the customer's giving you the thumbs up to review your discoveries, here's the dumpage point. You're going to roll through each system. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. This is what the vehicle needs. At the end, there's one total price. Now the customer has got the shock value, but they understand this is what it's going to take to get the car in tip-top shape. Now, of course, if the customer wants to know at that point what every little thing's going to cost, sure, go down that road. But I bet you a lot of people are just going to know, okay, this is the reality. What am I going to do next?
Yeah, and we all know you have some customers. What do they say? You know what? Let's just go ahead and get it done because I'm not getting rid of it. I want to keep it. So it's been a good car. And then you've spared yourself and them all the headache of this crazy conversation and 18 prices, right?
Yeah. So that's going to be our recommendation. Now, let's just say, because this is the reality of the situation, the customer is unable to authorize all of your recommended services. Okay, let's just say in one scenario they can't afford it. So maybe you offer Synchrony, maybe you offer your Bosch credit card. Maybe that's just something they're not interested in, or they know that they're not going to qualify for, or you just can't offer that because your shop doesn't have things like that, those lifelines. Well, we always get asked the question, Doris and Jen, how do we prioritize this list? It's overwhelming for me. So here are some suggestions on the proper order.
All right, so we want to help prioritize. Number one is going to be what they brought their vehicle in for. Even though the second one, which says safety, might trump it, why are we going to bring their concern up first? Is because it's what mattered to them, right? That's what they came in for. So always put the customer's needs first. So what they brought their vehicle in for or their initial concerns is number one. Number two is going to be items relative to their own safety, i.e. brakes, tires, all the things that you would, consider under that umbrella. And number three, items relative to, let's say, the safety of others. So an example of that might be a rear seat belt that's broken, but they're just not going to have any rear passengers. It's a safety item, but we can avoid that causing any harm to the driver. Potentially, a brake light that's out. I mean, that could also affect the safety of the driver too. If you think about it.
And others on the road.
Others on the road. I mean,
think about that. So that would be number three. And then of course we've got the safety of the vehicle. What we mean by this is the maintenance items. That's going to come a little bit further lower on the list.
Right.
And lastly.
Lastly is cosmetic and comfort items, right? Vents, air conditioning, depends where you live, I guess. Or AC. But the cup holder that's broken, those kinds of things, right?
So it's going to be extremely difficult for you to just think of this on the fly if you're not prepared. So it's really important prior to any sales presentation, but especially these longer multiple repairs, you've got to spend a couple minutes and get a game plan of attack. Obviously we'd love for the customer to do the whole shebang. That would help save them time and, just get it all done in one visit. But if that's not the case, you need to know this list of prioritization.
Yep, absolutely. So we've got a little role play we'll do for you here. Let's say the customers, they can't do it all, right? And they're really anxious. They just heard this really big number and they're going, oh my gosh, I just can't get this all done. I can't afford it. Financing doesn't work for them. They don't have the credit worthiness, or they just don't want to go down that road. And they're really in a cash crunch. They've got to figure something out. This is where you come in, and you've got to really make sure that they know that you care about them and that you're really there to help them through this really difficult time and this decision they've got to make. Okay.
Because I'm emotional, right? I just heard this car needs thousands of dollars worth of work, and I'm just like, I can't, Doris. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to do. I'm a little stressed out right now. This is a lot.
Well, Jen, don't worry at all. I know how you feel. I've been there myself. Trust me, I have. unexpected repairs, things like this can really bring a lot of stress. And it sounds like money's a little tight right now for the family.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm here to help you. That's the good news. Don't even worry. That's my job. Okay. Certain repairs on this list that we talked about today are going to have a little higher priority than others.
Okay.
So I will help you through that. Let's talk about these things. Let's talk about priority. And at the end of the day, what's most important to you and your safety is going to be what's most important to us.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm prepared to have that conversation with you.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start by placing the highest priority on what you brought it in for and any of those safety items.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll come up with a plan for the rest of this stuff. We'll talk about that order that we should do it in and why. And, if we can't do it all, we'll schedule some of those things in ASAP. How does that sound?
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Whatever we could do to lower this cost and keep us safe is great.
Yeah, you've got it. Let's go through this together. So now, how does she feel?
Wow. I've just got a hug, right?
Yeah,
Really?
I'm gonna help her. Don't even worry. I know it's a lot to process. So we always say with laundry lists that after you ask for the sale and the customer passes out because they're shocked and they can't believe they need $3,000 worth of work, then selling really starts.
Yeah. And we love this verbiage. It's just like a verbal hug.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound pressury. And, she's still making it all sound important, right? In a way, we're not just sweeping things under the rug. I mean, she's planting the seed that we can come up with a plan, and I'm not to worry. I'm going to really appreciate this as a customer in a high stressful situation. So you got to use that kind of empathetic, sympathetic verbiage. She's basically asking me permission to prioritize, and I'm giving her the thumbs up.
Yep. So when we have our more advanced training, our service advisors come to memorize these little word tracks and get used to using them with the customers. They really help people just to know that you really do care about them.
Yes. So hopefully that helps. We'll still get into, more closing the sale and reselling the service next Wednesday, but now would be the appropriate time to type in some questions, anything relative to asking the sale, closing the sale. We even just scratched the surface on reselling the service today. Hammer us with questions. I'm going to open up our control panel and turn off my camera real quick if you guys don't mind. And let me open up our question panel here, Doris.
Oh my God, we've got some great ones already.
Oh, wow, we got a lot
of them. Okay.
This is a technical question about the workbook. Yep, we'll send that to you, Alex. We'll send it to you via email. Let's see.
Jason has a tip for us, I think. Ask the customer to have a seat before you tell them the price. Could do that. That's a joke. Oh, good job, Jason. I wasn't going to call you out. I have used that sales tactic of making jokes and getting the customer to laugh and loosen up. Is that a good idea? Jason, I think you can tell intuition, having done this for as long as you have, anytime we can get the customer to smile is a good thing. Yeah. So I think that's great.
Levity's huge. Just make sure it's appropriate. Know your audience, right?
Yep.
But yes, the joke to tell a customer, hey, can you sit down? I've got some news. Yeah, Jason.
Kind of what we talked about, right? Already. We don't want to make it a daunting conversation. So that was funny.
Okay, so Kayla asked, what if the customer asks, can you have this done by 3 and it's already 11? You can't really have it done by 3, but you've got the sale by them saying yes, and then you may run into an issue where it won't be done by 3. How do you effectively overcome that? That's a great one, Kayla. Yeah, so we've got to get really good at under promising and over delivering. If you're sensing that the team isn't going to be able to tackle that by 3 p.m., we've got to come up with ways to get around that as a business. I mean, if there's a shuttle car that could get them to where they need to be by 3, or if there's a loaner car that can assist with that, if they just need wheels, I mean, you guys have to come up with a game plan. You guys might want to eat the cost of a rental car just to appease this customer if you guys are a little behind. But by no means would I promise you can have it done by 3 if that's not looking like a reality.
Yeah. Well, let them know why. People always need reasoning. Help them understand, the value of getting it done now versus waiting. How does she win by doing that? And what could the company do to help to overcome her transportation hurdles. Okay, so we always want to under promise and over deliver. So always be cautious with those promise times. A lot of people want their cars back and they feel like they need them back just because they need to get somewhere after work. So always ask, let me ask you, is it just transportation that you need by 3? Right? Try to see if you can help her with that.
Yeah. Okay, so Ray gives us 2 settings or 2 questions. I think they tie in together. So it says the webinar mentions not to offer more than 2 options when you have options. However, what about when the customer asks for multiple versions? Last customer asked me for price of brakes, price of pads, only, pads and rotors and flush. So what we want to do here, Ray, is we want to keep it simple. So I would find the best 2 options you feel comfortable in providing. Of course, both options have to be good. We don't want to offer just a fallback for it being a crummy route to go. But I would give them those 2. And again, like Dora said, they need reasoning. So tell them what option 1 is, your fallback. Include the benefits, why you feel that's a good version for them, and you can give them the price. Then roll right into option 2 with your preferred recommendation. That's the one they hear last. And that would probably include, I would imagine, the pads, the rotors, and the flush. So there's that total. Now they've got the 2 prices. They understand the difference. I would then see what the customer says at that point. You could break that down once they've heard the total, but now they know the reality of the situation. The basic brake job's going to cost this versus the premium brake job's going to cost that. If they need to know what that cost, you know, what makes up that cost, sure, go into that. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, you can certainly break it down, but Jen's recommending, Ray, that you start practicing and getting used to the way that we're presenting it. It should avoid a lot of that for you, especially if they feel really confident in your recommendation that you're making to them.
Yeah.
They'll likely be sold on that, but if they still need you to break it down, feel free to do that.
Yeah, because I would imagine at that point, if there's a 3rd option, it's probably not like the ideal way to go. I mean, you've basically got it as simple down to 2. That's enough.
Yeah, and they might, they still may have some questions. They might be sold on what you're recommending to them, so they might want it broken down further. But then you're going to need to go back and say, do you mind if I ask about the breakdown and kind of why we're wanting all of that? You know, and try to sell them again on what you're recommending. Right?
Yeah. And I believe Ray's interested in our advanced course.
Very good.
We will help you with that, Ray. And then Jason has some cute analogies here. He's talking about how the customer in the car needs CPR and EMT work. So he's using parallels to the medical industry, which I think everyone should do because there's a lot of similarities, right, between our industry and the doctor world.
Definitely.
Good suggestion.
All right, you guys. So we're out of Q&A time, but those of you that had questions that we couldn't get to, Jen will be getting back to you all on that. And so we're back.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about our next steps.
Here we go.
We got some homework assignments. I know you guys love homework, right? And you know, take notes on this. So first things first, record yourself selling laundry lists and identify areas where you can improve based off of what you've learned today. Okay, let's make sure to do that. Those recorders are your best friends.
So listen to your sales calls. Either pull those through your phone systems at work or bust out your smartphone.
Yes.
There's apps to record everything. So listen to yourself based off of what you learned today and start tweaking what you think you can improve.
Definitely watch for the link to the recorded session, which you've all been getting. You'll get another one today for this session that you can watch. You can watch and watch it over again. You can have us in your dreams and your sleep. If you want to watch it that many times, probably not a good idea.
And now, this is important. Next week, this is our final and 4th webinar. We are actually going to deliver content. I mean, we're going to spend a good 35 minutes delivering content where you're still going to want to be there present, take notes. And then immediately, when we're done delivering that content, I'm actually going to administer, with Doris's help, the exam. So all the answers are found in the study guide. This workbook that you've been filling out. We're pulling the questions straight from that, no surprises. So you should prepare for 1 full hour versus 40-ish minutes next week. If there are multiple advisors all sitting together watching this on one computer, yet all of you want to take the test next week, I'm going to encourage you to all log into a separate device, whether that's your own desktop, your own laptop, your own iPad. You all need to take the test on your own device.
Yep, otherwise you won't be able to get credit for the test that you just took through the Automotive Management Institute.
If you're
Very important.
Yeah, and if you can't take that test at the end of Wednesday, you really got to find the time because you're logged in. You want to take it then and there. Okay, we will offer one more time to take the test, but if you're logged in on Wednesday, you got to take it there live.
All right. All right. So we'll go over this again when we meet you next week.
Which will be November 6th.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be November already. That is so crazy. But thanks so much, guys, for joining us at Module 3. We are very grateful for you. Thanks for giving of your time. We know that you have a lot of important things that you could be doing right now, but you're here with us. So we're thankful for that. And thanks again to our dear friends at Jasper Engines and Transmissions.
All right. Take care. Happy Halloween.
Bye, everybody.
Stay safe. See you next week.